So you're at your desk, your manager, your client comes over or calls you and says, hey, I need you to do X, Y, and Z project. I need it done in a matter of weeks, months, expeditiously, basically. And here's the name of the program, go. What do? Are you like, what? Okay, is there any more information? No, go ahead, you got this. I have faith in you. My name is JMEarley. I help individuals and teams achieve organizational and personal success. And this is Leadership Matters. So today I want to talk to you about why the basics are critical to your success. I've talked about getting back to the basics before. I've done a video, I'll link it somewhere in here. And about not getting caught up. That video focused on not getting caught up and what's going on in the new software or new ways to design and all of that, but sticking to the basics. I will say that when I first started my career, I was hired into a traditional training and development department, dedicated training and development department. I was assigned to a specific team within that department. And on that team, I had specific responsibilities as it related to training and development for that team within my department. When I got assignments, I was a training specialist. When I got assignments, my assignment included the name of the program, the time allocated for the program, the objectives for the program, what the stakeholders wanted to see come out as a result or the return on investment for the program. I got all of the particulars for the program. I was a training specialist, and hashing out the details of what the client wanted, what the training and development would look like, what it would entail. That was done by my manager, together often with my department director. So they did the consultant piece of it. They talked to the client, they hash out the details, they talked about what the client, why the client wanted training and development, if indeed it was a training issue, and what resources could be allocated to the project, if there's going to be SME, subject matter experts, how much time, was the program going to be? Was it going to be a full day training? All of that was already hashed out before it got to me. That was at the beginning of my career. What I have realized in 20 plus years in learning and development is, like everything else, things change and things evolve. So what are you saying, Jennifer? I'm saying that in recent years, I've gotten projects, just like I said in the intro. Here you go. This is what we like. Sometimes I get a time frame. Sometimes I don't. Oh, it's going to be, you have, an hour of an 8-hour program, or an hour of, or a day of a 3-day seminar, whatever the case may be. In recent years, in my, sorry, of course, Bailey is chewing her bone right at my feet and I'm losing my train of thought. Anyway, what I've gotten in recent times was, hey, here's a topic. You let me know how long you think it's going to take. I need it by this date. Go forth, prosper, do your thing, do what you do. And that's why I get so many questions, which I appreciate. I appreciate the emails. I appreciate the comments about, how to get into training and development. And that is why I talk a lot about the roles and responsibilities, because they're going to be different. I can't say that enough times. I will always reiterate it in every video where I'm talking about training and development, because it's true. I've worked for many organizations. I worked across different industries, and I don't care what people call it. Even if they call it the same thing, it's something different. Your role and expectations associated with it will change from organization to organization, industry to industry. And that's why I am back to say, master the basics. If you master the basics, you cannot go wrong, because you're going to, in your career, get an assignment that is ambiguous, an assignment where you're not allocated resources, either people or money. An assignment that's going to cause you to be like, what part of the game is this? Or an assignment that's not congruent with what you thought it was going to be. So for those of you who are just getting into training and development or looking to get into training and development, and you're reaching out to me like, so what should I do? Flush out that job description. That's number one. Make sure that you clarify the expectations once you get there day one, because theory is different than practice. Well, Jennifer, what do you mean? I mean that people can use organizations will use a cookie cutter job descriptions, or they'll have a job description that's basically a wish list. You won't know that until you get into your interview, and in your interview, flush all that out. What does this job look like? What are the day-to-day responsibilities? And when asking those clarifying questions, because remember, they're not just interviewing you, you're also interviewing them, to make sure that this is a position that you want to take and that you will fit into this organization's culture, and that you'll have an opportunity to grow and evolve and develop in your career and training and development, whether you're starting off or whether or not you're a seasoned professional, learning and development professional. So you want to know really what it is. And a lot of times I have heard in my own interview process, well, you know, we don't really do that today. Today we do blah, 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 blah. But in the next 5 years in the future, we're looking at transitioning the department, right? There has been one organization in my experience that I have dealt with in my career that I interviewed with them twice. I didn't get the job with them until I interviewed once, and then I came back a year later and interviewed and got the job at that time. Year one, the director looked at me and said, we will not be in this building. We're going to exist in the other building, in the main building on the 18th floor, and we're going to have a training room that's dedicated to us, a multi-purpose training room, and our offices will be on the other side. So I was like, okay, at this point, I was interviewing with them, and I really felt like they were in a cubby hole. They were, to me, if I looked at location and I looked at the industry, I really felt like they were an afterthought. Like the money definitely did not go to this department in this particular organization, which was typical of the industry in and of itself. Money just did not go to, their HR areas. They went to money generating divisions, okay? Divisions that brought in revenue. And a lot of times, especially at this point in my career, human capital was not viewed as revenue making. The organizations did not view the people as the backbone of the organization. And the reason why the organization could be successful was because of the people. So in order to be successful, you had to invest in your people. That was a novel concept back then. But in any case, this is what the director told me. A year later, when I went back to interview, I was in the main building. I was on the 18th floor, and I viewed and interviewed in their multi-purpose training room, and was able to get a tour into the office space and to see where I eventually ended up sitting. I was very impressed with that. But a lot of times I found throughout my career that just because you say that's where you want to go, that's not ultimately sometimes where a department will end up. So you want to flesh all those things out. Back to the basics, because I digress. The reason why the basics are important is because if you can master the foundation of training and development. When I started, I wore all hats, every hat but the consultant hat. I told you before that my manager and my director, department director, hashed all that out with a client. I rarely spoke with a client. There was one occasion I remember being included, but beyond that, the assignments came back to me and I executed it. But I was responsible for the creation of materials, the entire spectrum from that point to delivery and the evaluation, all three levels. There's a fourth level, this return on investment that the director did. But those levels of evaluation, I was also responsible for. So I've done it all. I've done instructional design and development, facilitation. I've been my own training coordinator and done logistics. I've done it all because I was raised up in the industry in a time where you were expected and required to do it all. Things are different now. Things are segmented, siloed in a lot of respects. There are training departments that, have dedicated instructional designers or IDs, dedicated facilitators, and those roles do not, they don't overlap. You're siloed into one of those positions. And they have the e-learning, which doesn't, facilitators don't do e-learning and vice versa and all of that. But what I'm saying is that in all of these areas, you have to understand the basic responsibility of your role and have mastered that. It's all good to follow, industry trends and learn different software and be an e-learning guru and develop everything and be a rise, superstar. That's great. But unless you're going to spend your career in one role for that period, for your entire career, you need to understand the basics. You need to understand, because I'm hoping that you're going to grow and evolve. And at some point where if you're in a position where you're taking assignments, at some point you're going to take the bull by the horn and you're going to consult with the client, especially if you move from a traditional FTE to a contract position. You really need to be prepared to be able to chart your own course, because if not, you're going to be in potentially over your head and find yourself to be really overwhelmed at best.